I think that a merit-based through testing and analysis, nationalized workforce that trains people in emergency response or in construction or in, like infrastructure deployment. Those are the things that the military does. They do those things really well. They do those things incredibly.
Oh, absolutely.
I think those kinds of abilities, if those were used to make the United States a better place, lo and behold, this would be an incredible country. We would have the best roads. We would have incredible water supplies, like man-made lakes that could be used for recreation and water supplies and fishing and all of the things that come with having all these things. The things that we built after the Great Depression, after World War I, and all that good stuff.
What's crazy about what you're saying is what ends up happening with military operations is they have to build a lot of shit in order to execute.
Yeah, just to function.
They have to build bridges.
They have to build a small city
facilities.
To operate out of.
Exactly. So these people are already trained and already do these things in a lot of cases. And a lot of times they're doing peacekeeping missions. So I'd never want to frame the military as if all they do is destroy, because that's absolutely not accurate. And further, this is why it was so easy for them to be outfitted after the Hurricane Harvey, and deployed in Houston. And this is where there is an alternate universe where we re-outfit the entire military to be constructive forces that just deploy all over the United States and just rebuild and build new infrastructure. And in 4 years, we would be 10 years ahead of where we would be if we did not do this. It's a matter of,
I feel like
we should turn inward in the way that China did without the fucking wall. And the issue is, when China turned inward, they advanced themselves culturally fucking thousands of years ahead of the rest of the world in a way that they only opened up fucking a couple hundred years ago.
It's funny. Like, they spent roughly 30 to 45 years industrializing, really industrializing. And in that, let's just call it 50 years. They spent 50 years industrializing. In that span, they managed to socialize and to undergo social evolution, like you said, like advancing at a rate that is just incredible. They are a unified society in so many ways. Like, and of course, we're outsiders and can only read and understand so much because translations are only so good.
Yep.
And we got to have a grain of salt with a few things, because the media is the media, and even the best of spooks and spies, they've got their motivations too. And so on some level, China's has got this incredible thing going, though. Like, I remember when like in the, I guess it was the early 2000s, I would always read about how, like, China's economy is set to go straight to the moon, it's with that kind of, like, dynamic 50s flair.
Yeah, did you hear about Bitcoin? Well, it's funny, too, because I'm glad you brought that up. What's happening with the trade wars, or what appear to be trade wars,
the trade wars,
is really just the Chinese government taking the great opportunity to play a slowing economy into appearing to have a trade war. So if you knew your economy was slowing, and you could make it seem like the way to shore up your slowing economy was by pretending to get into a trade war that you would then have to make capitulations within to appease the trade war, but in the process you're actually shoring up the economy that needed to be shored up in the first place. This is, to me,
that's just smart economics.
Absolutely, and smart diplomacy, because the Chinese economy was about to hit a major slowdown, and all of the things that they're quote unquote capitulating in the trade war are things they would have needed to do to make sure their economy didn't actually come to a screeching halt.
I bet that like 10, 20 years, it'll be revealed that in addition to, how they built like scale models of Paris or Berlin or whatever, however many cities they've made duplicates of.
Yeah.
Like they'll have made like a special Trump. A Trump city, and it'll be like a modified version of Las Vegas and Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And have a small section that looks like part of New York City, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that's what's going to happen.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Because I feel like they're running out of top shelf cities to build replicas. They can't even find people to live in these cities. They're just like empty, waiting with like complete
50 million empty units,
complete with furniture, still has the plastic on it. You just gotta like take off, and voila, here's your kitchen unit has like pots and pans ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm always baffled at this notion of empty houses and homeless people coexisting within any context. Like any country that has a leader that allows that to happen, to me, is like still archaic in any whatever country we're talking about, because some countries have put themselves on the track to solve this problem, and that's kind of where I'm looking at leaders, and I'm thinking, I don't care if you call yourself a communist, I don't care if you call yourself a capitalist, if there is a large number of empty vacant properties and a large number of homeless people, and those two things coexist, that's a failure of leadership. I don't care what that leader exists under.
The sad part is that the data is there that could be used. The data exists to identify who needs a place to live and the places that need somebody to live there.
Yep.
And largely the problem is the financial institution that owns the house. They want to get their loan, their mortgage money back out of it, so they don't just want to like give it away.
Absolutely.
Which is,
I understand.
That's the
However,
dilemma. It's kind of sad.
It is, and this is
that
the
says
issue
so
where
much about
we're
our
like,
society.
It does, and this is where I'm like looking at human civilization and saying, oh no, we're not evolved at all yet. We have so far to go. And we know for a fact it would take about $20 billion to fix homelessness in America. That's just in America.
13 years ago when I was in China, I remember we saw a beggar on the street, and I asked the tour, I was like, hey, what's the deal with this? I thought that you guys were like socialists or something. She's like, oh, no, if you want a job, you have a job. That person has mental illness and they haven't been able to get help. Like they explain that there are in China they have resources and social services to help people. There's some people are so out of their gourds that they won't even take the medicine, and you can't. You can, I guess. They will eventually be hospitalized once they find them and catch them.
Well, if they become a nuisance or a danger, that's when it happens.
But it was kind of interesting. Like everyone that we encountered had a cell phone, and everyone had opportunity to have a job. We saw people just like sweeping the street and changing trash bags, and it's like that's an entire job. Keep the place clean.
Yeah,
and China was, aside from the air quality, was actually one of the cleanest places I've ever been, like, the entire time I was there. Even the back alley shed bucket that I peed in because I drank too many beer on the tour bus between cities, in the 4-hour bus ride or whatever, they kicked in. Even that was clean. So it was an extremely clean culture. I think, they can get arrested for spitting, so.
Right. I mean, and this is in contrast to when the founding fathers were learning about Islam. People in Europe were fucking shitting in the streets.
Yeah.
and wearing high heels instead of fucking not shitting in the streets.
And wearing cologne and perfume because they didn't like bathing.
Right, yeah. So that's kind of when those things were coexisting. It's illegal to spit in the streets in China. Probably still back then. I don't think that law is new. I think it's less enforced now than it was probably then.
Well,
and
I think
where it's like.
I think back then, or I think in China, there's a culture of preemptive medicine. Like a lot of Eastern medicine is like, hey,
which includes hygiene.
Exactly. So, if you're starting to feel a little ill, just increase your ginger intake.
And take a bath.
Take a bath.
Yeah.
Take 2 baths.
No, for sure.
Eat a bunch of rice and drink some soup. Get hydrated.
It's a very different approach.
And take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Here, make a tea out of this really bitter root. It'll help keep you from wanting to, go do these other things.
Well, this is what frustrates me about being born in the West as a non-European person, because I see European Western medicine just constantly rediscovering things that have already been assessed and figured out by Eastern medicine, and then it's like we need the Western stamp of approval to validate it for whatever reason. And this is, to me, one of the it's one of the aspects of colonialism that I think a lot of people don't realize that they're stuck in, where it's a matter of Western validation shouldn't be necessary.
So when I was
anything,
when I was 25 and in touring around China with my family, we stopped in Beijing and at the Ming Apothecary. So like the official the building that housed the apothecary of the Ming Dynasty.
Jesus.
And so my parents went and took the tour, and I didn't want to go walk around the thing. I was kind of tired, so I just hung out and walked around like the main floor, which was essentially like a super pharmacy of Eastern medicine. And I walked up to a counter because I saw this attendant, and he said, "How can I help you?" And well, we established that I couldn't speak Chinese and that I needed to communicate in English, and he was fine. He spoke English perfectly. And I said, "What's the Eastern equivalent to Viagra?" And he smiled and said, "Come with me." And so he leads me to this case and opens it up and pulls out this tray. It's about 3 feet wide and 18 or so inches deep, and pulls it out and sets it on the counter, and had this fantastic green like binding, green and gold binding. It was beautiful. And on it were these 3 I'm not really sure how to describe them. They looked like big pieces of meat, and they were penises. There was boar and bear and elk, and I said, how do you even use this? He said, "Oh, grind it up and make a broth, and you'll be fine." And I said, "How much?" He's like, "The whole thing."
Oh God.
Man, an elk penis is kind of like a softball bat.
Oh God.
Yeah, no.
Oh God, no.
No,
yeah, no. I'm cool on all that. Man, that's a whole long way to go through.
I'm sure there's a way to make some kind of concentrate out of it. But still, that's a lot of no.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of no. Whole lot of no.
So I think there must be some cultural component, like the act of buying one and not telling anybody about it. And then realizing that you spent however much money for an elk.
Yeah, I mean, that train ride home has to be the most shame-filled, carrying the bag, like a gigantic fucking bag through, and you don't want it to drop out.
Because there's one person who knows what it is, and they're they won't make eye contact.
Some dude in history has dropped an elk penis on a fucking subway somewhere, and all the passengers knew exactly what it was because it was a giant fucking elk dick. I mean, man, that's where you don't want to be the dude dropping the elk dick
that's
on the
right.
fucking.
But that means that things like shark fin soup don't work for you. And shark fin soup, I've had shark fin soup. That stuff is potent. That made me want to go out and like go.
I mean,
dance and,
it sounds like some Highlander of dick shit. Like you take another animal's dick and absorb its dick energy. You hold the elk penis on the hill. There can be only one.
That's where big dick energy comes from. It comes from elk and bear and boar.
Oh god.
Well, that's what Red Bull has a chemical that's also found
Taurine.
in. Yeah. There's a whole generation of energy drinks that rely on non-xanthine stimulants that are also found in other animals' testicles. So, we're pretty weird. We drink
big ball energy
drinks. As if coffee wasn't stimulating enough.
Yeah, we gotta constantly kick it up a notch.
Or we drive a rhino to extinction because we think that grinding up its nose horn, which amounts to a fingernail, a giant cluster of hair that's grown into a horn, but it's essentially the same material as the toenail. They're grinding up and eating or drinking or just somehow ingesting, maybe even smoking. Can you imagine if they're smoking a rhino horn? That's a toenail.
You don't hear women out endangering whole species to have better orgasms. Like that's some man shit. That's some shit only men would do. Fucking kill off an entire species for fucking boners. Like, god damn it, man. Come on. Man, I'm not saying women should go out and do that in the name of equality, but I'm just like, where are the fucking female orgasm-based genocides hat? They're just not there, like.
Well, wait. There was an extended period of time when humans were hunting whales for blubber, and in addition to being used for fuel, they were using some of that fat to make. There's a compound that they pull out of their stomachs. Ambergris.
I guarantee the women weren't hunting the whales.
No, but this chemical is used in production of the finest perfumes to this day.
Yeah,
and they would kill some whales just for the ambergris.
But these are also people who can't shower, and
this is also true.
So they need to have some. They have shit to cover up the smell so they can
something that can coexist with the stomach acid inside of a whale.
Oh god.
That's how fucked up that is. And so there was a period of time where but it was mostly driven by fuel, because that was before we developed kerosene and stable fuel supplies, and people wanted to have their lit streets and lit houses, and fuel oil was derived from whale blubber, and so we drove them into extinction so we could light our houses and a lot of times burn houses down. and also cover up the smell of piss and shit, because humans are pretty dirty for a long time.